Hi, another one of those videos where you just see my hands. This is a cursed video and this is my last attempt to record it. If it fails again, then to hell with it. So, I will be trying to record disassembling and replacing the calipers inside, the pistons inside this caliper. So, this is what the bike's owner bought, the new seals and new pistons. Generally, I would not advise doing that. I would advise when you have problems, let's take a step back. First thing, to confirm where it leaks. It's important to have good light and pay attention and to figure out where the leaking is happening. To make sure that it is not happening somewhere else and then just dripping, like here or these connections, but that it is in fact happening at the pistons. So when you confirm that to be the case, the reasonable solution is to remove the whole caliper and get a new one. That's usually simpler and cheaper, unless you have all the tools and doing it all yourself and want to take the time to do it and have a bit of luck that everything is in good condition inside. So those are things. Now, when you're removing this, with most brake models, there is some sort of brass or other softer metal assembly that gets squashed to seal it. And so when you unscrew it and remove it, you need to get new brass assembly setup, or it will be leaking at this connection. So it's better to not touch that unless you have to. Also, when you figure out that it's leaking, you will usually expect your brake pads to be soaked and to need replacing because they cannot be cleaned. They suck in the brake fluid. And when it comes to disc brakes, to braking discs or rotors, you can use some brake cleaner or 90+% alcohol to make sure that those are degreased. This comes in supermarkets, it's not too expensive, and this is the brake cleaner. Any brand is generally good. Be mindful to not spray it on the bicycle's frame or plastic or rubber parts. Another thing to pay attention to is the brake fluid. I have articles and I have videos discussing and explaining things, but generally you don't mix mineral brake oil and or hydraulic fluid and dot hydraulic fluid. So those are two things, and you don't mix dot 5.0 with dot 4 or dot 5.1. Those are separate systems. This one uses dot fluid. This is some Hayes Prime old brake, and that is very corrosive to paint, so be careful about your bicycle's paint to not get bulges and be ruined. In order to remove this and disassemble it, this is 2.5mm hex. Sorry, I wanted to say brake pads, so I'm removing the brake pads and removing this for now. Now, in order to disassemble this, there are two screws on this side, but they are very stuck, and often the steel and aluminum get galvanic corrosion. So you may need to resort to using an impact screwdriver, and I will keep this screwed in so that the frame holds it in place while I loosen it. It's very difficult to do it by holding it in your hand, and it's not convenient to take it somewhere else, but I will be risking this leaking over the frame, the fluid. So it's not perfect, but that's what I need to work with, and that's what I did here, and place this a bit higher so that any fluid gets back into this and not leak here. And I did that already, so I will not be re-recording this procedure, but you know what to do. In this case, I will just use this to loosen this. This is now going super smooth, super easily. But that was not the case. I needed to use some impact wrench to loosen them, to get them going, just a little bit. So now I can retighten and to reseal this to not have a much leak, and then remove it from the frame and then disassemble it, hopefully without anything dripping on the frame. So now to remove it from the frame, this is 2mm hex that locks the the screw. So I need to loosen that one first, which I already did. And now I need to loosen these two bolts and then unscrew them. I have articles explaining the recommended tightening torques for most bicycle parts, so you can look that up on my website. And generally there's a full search on bikegremlin.com, and for any questions or comments, please use the bikegremlin.net forum. YouTube is awful for search, and so is Google today, unfortunately. So you will not get good answers, and any ChatGPT or Google Gemini answers often miss nuances, and so you get the wrong impression or even wrong facts, or both, one not excluding the other. So be careful. Okay, so now I have this loose, fast and loose, like Motorhead. And I had removed the pin that holds the brakes in place so that I can freely work these. Now let's see. You can see the amount of the corrosion, this like white powder, that's all from aluminum to steel contact corrosion. And so now we have this disassembled. Some compressed air. I will also clean these bolts. Of course, I would rather keep these separate to not catch onto anything, and just use the compressed air or brake cleaner to spray any dirt out of this before I assemble it all. Now, I will try to show it on this part, and the principle is the same. So the tricky part is to get this thing, the caliper out, and this is where the brake fluid goes from the opposite side, and there is the hose on the other side of the. So to get this, I will try to use some compressed air to press it in here, and hopefully push out the piston so that I can access this and clean it. But before that, I will clean the outside so that it's all clean. And it's important to not mix dot fluid and mineral oil or any other oil. So I will use a separate brush for this, and I will clean it thoroughly. Be careful to not have anything spray in your eyes, the brake cleaner or any debris. And now I will try to push the piston out. There will be brake fluid leaking all over the place, but that's life. So trying to get a good seal and get this out. There, it flew out quite aggressively. So again, wearing some protective glasses is a good idea. So this is the piston, and this is the rubber seal on the outside. You could do that with when there's not much leaking, with the pads removed and just pressing the caliper, the lever brake out to get the calipers out as much as possible. Then disassemble it and then try to use some pliers to pull them out if you are going to be replacing them anyway. So that's one way to deal with that, and this is the alternative. Now I need to get this pried out, and I don't want to scratch anything else. Okay, the alternative is to use something pointy and just get it, there it is, as gently as possible. This is a bad idea to use your hands with this fluid. I'm doing this for the 10 people who will find this, but I should put on some gloves. You should be able to see a seal here, a rubber seal, and the canal. That's the other side, opposite to the one that we just disassembled. So same thing again. Let's try to send this one flying. Can you see it in the camera? Here it is. So now I'm unable to pause the camera and will have problems editing, but you can see this. I will try to thoroughly clean it and then lubricate it and insert new seal. What I would do now if I had I will put this back together anyway, but so the principle is to put some brake fluid, in this case dot fluid, on the seal and around, smear it and then place it in to make sure that it's all lubed before you assemble it. Now when it comes to dot fluid, when you open it, when you open the seal on the package, it has a very limited amount of time, and you should consider it a one-time use. Not try to reuse an opened canister of, even if you close it pretty well, because it's attracting moisture, it's hygroscopic. I do try to have a spare new one for every bicycle that I service, and to use the open ones just for a very short time in cleaning and things like that, but not as a proper replacement, as a exchange, a new fluid, because you're wasting your time in that case. Let's try to catch this on camera. So make sure that the canal where I'm placing this is already pre-soaked with brake fluid, and then make sure that the rubber seal is also soaked with brake fluid, and then just place it, replace it like that. That's the whole principle. And while it is important to keep it clean, make sure that you have something smeared here of that brake fluid and also on the caliper before you insert it. So the caliper is also soaked, just like the rubber seal around it, and so I'm placing it in to make sure that it goes evenly, smoothly. And there it is, to make sure that it's aligned with the caliper, and that's good. Now do the same thing for the other part. Now for the last seal, the same principle, to make sure there's some brake fluid there, and hopefully as little as possible on the frame. And now we need to put them back together. I will smear some clear brake fluid on this line and try to get them to sit flush. Okay, clearing off the excess fluid from the outside. And now I could reassemble it and tighten it to the appropriate torque. Unfortunately, this has been a wasted effort because I haven't got the needed parts and I'm very low on space, so I cannot leave this bicycle like this unassembled, so I need to get it back on its wheels again. And when the matching part is finally sourced, I would need to do it all over again, or if a new caliper is used, then that could be a solution. And of course this will require new brakes as well. and it will also require opening a fresh can of dot brake fluid. So it's a failure, but the principle that I showed should help you get the job done. That's what's served me well so far. I did this on my Yamaha. It was good enough for motorcycle brake calipers too, so it's not a mystical science, but it's not the most practical thing to do, and I am sure that this video is not the most entertaining video on the internet, but I hope it has helped you. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I will get these all down to the matching appropriate torque and call it a day. And that's it. Cheers. Stay cool.